pain, love, suffering, emotions that all humans should understand. Yet, nobody seems to be more in touch with their emotions than this one man. The song Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley embodies a lyrical masterpiece that can be recognized by just about anyone these days, especially the youth, likely because of the powerful lyrics and caring aura about the song. These lyrics are bolstered by Rick's use of specific pronouns in his music in order to connect with his audience. The song also uses connotation to subtly plant carefully crafted emotions into his listeners. Finally, Rick applies an afro to ensure that his song will stick in the heads of its listeners and forever stand the test of time. A very important part of the music industry lies in the reach of a song. If a song lacks the ability to connect with the listeners, then those listeners will lose interest in playing the song. To combat this, many musicians will use pronouns and allow their listeners to feel included and understood by the artist. Rather than Rick telling his story from an excluded point of view, he uses phrases like, "We're no strangers to love," to allow the listener to live vicariously through his words. Rick goes on to say, to make the listener feel as if they are connected to his words and are in on a secret with him, therefore proliferating his song by making a connection to his audience. Rick Astley chooses his endearing words very carefully. He uses heartwarming words with strong connotations in order to make his audience feel more understood and cared about. He also uses contrast in his words to make himself seem more appealing than, as he puts it, he tells his listeners that he will never let you down, make you cry, say goodbye, all around and desert you, tell a lie and hurt you. In using words with such painful and strong connotations tied to them, Rick applies pathos to his listeners by dancing on their heartstrings and striking fear of such emotions. However, Rick provides solace in assuring his listeners that, while others might do this to them, he would never do such a thing. This builds trust and, in turn, a relationship between the singer and the listeners, and keeps Rick Astley at the top of the charts. Rick Astley masterfully applies an afro to his work to make his songs as catchy as possible. America says we love a chorus, but don't complicate it and bore us, as famously stated by Bo Burnham. Rick captures this perfectly by repeating the same phrase 42 times in his 3.5-minute song. He also repeats the title of the song 11 times. In doing this, it makes the song catchy and easy to remember. This represents the key to music producers. If they can get their audience to have their song stuck in their heads, then they know that those listeners will go on to play the song over and over again. If they can get an audience, then they've created a platform for all of Rick's other rhetorical devices to set in and take root in the minds of listeners. The application of all these rhetorical devices will result in an escalation of the song's popularity by placing it on a base of strong and loving fans who trust their singer. Singers today can take a note out of Rick Astley's book, the man who created one of the most powerful and widely appreciated love songs today. Rick uses pronouns and connotation to draw his audience in, to trust and care about him, and he uses an afro to continue to allow himself to become popular with others and keep his song strong throughout the years with the ever-extending fan base of his music. The combination of these three main devices will allow Rick to stay relevant for years to come while he attempts to come up with a second good song.